Well, gays and lesbians enjoy full legal equality now, but 25 years ago it was a different world. What happened after 3 days of police raids and protests during the summer of 1990 is now considered a turning point in the equal rights movement. Aphrodite Salas explains.
Police breaking up a demonstration held by gays and lesbians. They were protesting a different police raid that had happened 2 nights before at an underground gay and lesbian party. Activist Michael Hendricks was there.
They arrested 48 that day. One of them ended up in the hospital with a ruptured testicle because of where they were beating him. Years after, we used that footage at hearings at the Human Rights Commission about violence and discrimination against gays and lesbians.
Hendricks says the underground parties called Sex Garage were the only way the community could get together without judgment.
Because we were banned everywhere else, we weren't allowed to go in straight bars, and lesbian bars didn't accept gays, and bars didn't accept lesbians.
At a Sex Garage party in July 1990 in downtown Montreal, police moved in, arrested some on charges of mischief and others for assaulting officers. Still others were beaten by police as the party broke up.
We don't really know what was the rationale. It's homophobic. It's 25 years ago. Probably people were still really uncomfortable with the LGBT community.
At Montreal Pride, the events over a few days in 1990 changed the course of how the gay and lesbian battle for equal rights would be fought.
That was basically the turning point when all the communities, the LGBT, came together and started, requesting more rights and more equal and freedom to be who they are and to be able to love who they want to love. Now, legally, the lesbian and the gays are equal. We still have a lot of work to do for the social acceptance, though.
Montreal Pride is inviting the public to a free outdoor exhibit here at Parc Émilie Gamelin between August 12th and 16th. Photos of the raids and the sit-ins will be on display for everyone to see. Aphrodite Salas,
on a July night in 1990 when police showed up at Montreal's Sex Garage loft party. It turned violent, igniting 36 hours of clashes between the gay community and Montreal's police force. 8 people were arrested. Joining us tonight, Puelo Deer, who was there the night it happened. Now, I know you left before the police arrived, but can you set the stage for us of what those 36 hours of clashes were like?
Historically, the police would make raids on gay bars all the time, and this one was different because it had a mix of different, first of all, young people, men, women, transgendered, straight friends. And they raided that bar, that loft party. And on that particular night, they were quite violent and abusive. And this would sort of pass by. However, a photographer, Linda Dawn Hammond, happened to have her camera that night and took pictures. And so, this generation of lesbian and gay community were much more media savvy, educated. They weren't putting our names in the newspapers anymore as found-ins in a house of ill repute. So we mobilized very quickly. We knew that this wasn't right, that the police should be protecting us and not beating us up. And then the next night, this happened in late night Saturday. Sunday night, we went into the village just down the street here and sat in the village for a number of hours until the police showed up and said, we'll meet with your leaders tomorrow afternoon in front of Station 25, the next day, Monday afternoon.
How do you think this night sort of armed people to want change? Because it was particularly violent?
It was particularly violent. We, the LGBT community, was dealing with AIDS, so we were already becoming quite politicized. Changes were already in the air. We were young, we were vibrant, we were university students, already politicized within the student unions.
What about Quebecers? How were Quebecers seeing what was happening at that time? Was there compassion there, or did you find that people were more homophobic?
Well, at the 6 o'clock news, this station as well, to see that some kids are getting beat up by the police in downtown Montreal certainly changed attitudes of people in the suburbs, of Quebecers all over the province, because what they were seeing were people that represented their children, because we were young, most of us were young, and we were getting beaten up by the police because of who we are. You know, they had rubber gloves, they had batons, they were pulling girls by their hair, they were kicking people and punching people, and this showed on the news. And so people's images of what the LGBT community looked like changed that day.
How did it change you that night?
Well, I was in my early 20s, and I never expected that, you know, a kiss-in, because that's what it was downtown Montreal, a kiss-in would turn into such a violent act. And it changed me because at that time I was just kind of a drifter, party boy, and I suddenly became politicized, and then found my way into CKUT, where I did a show called The Homo Show, and then Queercore, and then went on to school, university, and then founding Diversité, which was the Pride event here in Montreal for nearly 25 years.
We have only 30 seconds left, so I'm going to jump in with one last question. You mentioned you're the co-founder of Diversité. They are going to be celebrating 25 years at Gay Pride this year. What's going to be different?
Well, we're not celebrating 25 years.
Marking 25 years.
Well, Diversité isn't marking 25 years.
No, since the...
Oh, yes.
Yeah, since
well,
the,
we're going to be at the parade. People who we're inviting people who were at the parade, who were at Sex Garage, to come and join us at the parade. There will be a contingent. Linda Dawn Hammond will have an exhibit that will be at Berry Square. Yes, and that's 25 years later. We have nearly equal rights. We can have children. We can get married. We have much better health care for people with HIV and AIDS. We've
Things
made
are
a lot
better.
of, yes, things are better.
I'm sorry to have to cut it off here. We could
Thank
go
you for
on and
having
on,
me.
but thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
We appreciate it, and we'll back right after this.